Good evening, and thank you for joining Asian Law Alliance's 44th anniversary celebration. I'm Kristen Sze, anchor and reporter at ABC7 News, your MC for tonight's celebration. Even though these are difficult times, it is vital we celebrate the good being accomplished by organizations such as ALA. Since the September 2020 celebration, we've had a census, and ALA helped increase the response rate in Santa Clara County, promoting a complete and accurate count of all communities. Also, the California Court of Appeals upheld district-based elections that ALA and allies fought so hard for. Finally, Asian Americans have won seats on the City Council in Santa Clara, where more than 40% of the population are AAPI. We applaud these wins ALA has achieved with and for clients who could not otherwise access legal services to ensure that they would not be evicted, lose health care, and so much more during this time of crisis. Tonight, we'll recognize some honorees who have inspired us with their dedication to advancing justice, dignity, and equality for all. And of course, we celebrate you, ALA's sponsors and donors. Your generosity makes it essential that legal services are available to thousands of low-income community members amid extreme challenges. The disadvantaged, low-income, and immigrant communities of color who ALA serves were in distress even before the COVID-19 pandemic, and they're continuing to be hit hardest. More than 9,000 anti-Asian hate incidents have been reported nationwide since the start of the pandemic. In California, hate crimes have also risen significantly for our Black and Latino community members. ALA assists victims in reporting their experiences and access non-legal services they may need, like counseling and other support. ALA is part of a multiracial coalition working to come up with lasting solutions. So when we give to ALA, we move the needle. You can make a difference in the lives of people targeted in hate incidents. You can make a donation now by clicking that link in the chat or in the text message we sent you. All right, this evening we have a wonderful program planned, including a fireside chat with our honorees about supporting one another and our communities. We're also auctioning off 2 round-trip tickets on Alaska Airlines. There are no blackout dates. Knew you were going to ask. This prize is worth $2,500. Our opening bid for the night is $1,000, so enter your bid in the chat now. Now, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce you to ALA's esteemed president and a partner with Perkins Coie, Victoria Smith. Take it away, Victoria.
Thanks, Kristen. Thank you for kicking off our 44th anniversary celebration and for being our MC tonight. In fact, before we go any further, let's all give Kristen a round of virtual applause in the chat. As Kristen said, I'm Victoria Smith. Normally, I'm a partner at Perkins Coie, but tonight I am president of the Asian Law Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, who knew we would have to gather for another year virtually to celebrate the ALA? I can't wait for the day we can meet in person again. But in the meantime, it's great to at least be able to get together virtually and reflect on this past year. Thank you for joining us to support the ALA and the vulnerable communities we serve. Thank you very much to our 44th anniversary sponsors and donors. Special appreciation goes to our platinum sponsors, who are our largest donors for the night. They are Covington Burling, Facebook, Google, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, Kilpatrick Townsend, Mike Baller and Christine Brigagliano, and my firm, Perkins Coie. Due to timing, that list might not be complete, so I apologize if I inadvertently left anyone off. On behalf of the ALA board and staff, we are so grateful for your generosity. To my fellow ALA board members and the many elected leaders and judges who have joined us tonight, thank you for all you do for the community in the Silicon Valley. And mad props to Richard Kanda. Do people say mad props anymore? Richard is our fearless leader who co-founded the ALA 44 years ago, and he is now our executive director. Richard, thank you so much for your tremendous vision and your leadership throughout all these years. And to the ALA staff, You are the best. Thank you for always going above and beyond to serve our community members who have no place to go except for the ALA. You provide to them in-language services, whether for help with an eviction issue, domestic violence, registering to vote. You handle so many kinds of issues. And by understanding them in their native language, you are giving our community members voice. Thank you so much. Now, one of the many reasons why I continue to support the ALA is because of its Citizenship Day initiative. Since 1998, the ALA has partnered with allies to organize Citizenship Day, which is an annual event in which low-income residents can get help with citizenship applications and related fee waivers free of charge. As many as 1,500 legal permanent residents have received free assistance during a Citizenship Day event. I have a special connection to Citizenship Day because I know firsthand what it's like to be denied citizenship because of a paperwork error. My family and I escaped from Vietnam when I was just 2. And as a teenager, we applied as a family for US citizenship. My parents scraped together whatever money we could to hire an attorney to help us with the paperwork. My entire family was accepted, except for me. So all that money on my application basically went down the drain. We didn't really have a lot of money to spare when I was growing up. We had no clue what happened at the time, but when I reapplied for citizenship on my own as an adult, I realized that there was just a simple mistake on the application. It was basically we hadn't checked the right box. And that's why I always volunteer for Citizenship Day with ALA. It's important to know what exactly is needed for a successful application. Low-income people deserve quality legal services, and everyone deserves essential services. I understand the feeling of rejection, and many of you might have your own stories of denial or exclusion as Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So please join me in supporting the work of ALA so that other people don't have to go through the same things we and our families had to go through. Now, something else is striking to me. 9 out of 10 ALA clients fall below the poverty line. Now, what does that mean? That means $12,880 per year or less for a one-person household, or $17,420 or less per year for a 2-person family or household. That we're talking about people in the Silicon Valley, right? I mean, that is insane. I don't know how they can make ends meet. Because in San Jose, an average 1-bedroom apartment goes for at least $1,825 per month. The community members who reach out and get help from the ALA include domestic violence victims, victims of hate crimes, refugees and asylum seekers, people with disabilities, seniors, individuals with limited English proficiency, veterans, and the homeless. These are the people whom the ALA helps every day. You can support that work by supporting the ALA with a donation now or throughout the evening by clicking the link in the chat. Don't forget to cast your vote for the Alaska Airline vouchers. The winner will have a year to decide on their travel date and destination. Now, if you're like me, you're looking forward to hearing from tonight's honorees. They are Reverend Jeff Moore of the NAACP, Sarita Venkat of Apple, and Deanna Kwong of HP. A little later in our program, these distinguished leaders will join us for a short fireside chat about key lessons from 2020. Next up, though, we're going to hear a remarkable story about love, equality, and perseverance from 2 community members whom ALA helped this past year. We want you to see the difference that your donations make. With that, thank you again for joining us tonight and for continuing to support the ALA. The link to give is in the chat. Happy birthday, ALA.
Before I met her, Jen, I feel very loneliness, lonely, feel very empty myself. Just just before that, I really don't know how to love.
Thì lớn lên đi học, em tốt nghiệp college, xong sau đó em đi làm ở bên Việt Nam, được đi làm bên Việt Nam đâu được khoảng 3-4 năm rồi bắt đầu mới biết là từ nhỏ đến lớn là mình có cảm giác là mình chỉ thích cái người cùng giới, nhưng mà thật sự mà nói là để mà thật sự quen ai bên Việt Nam thì chưa.
So in Vietnam, that's very new to them. They very shy, feel like if they know you are gay, that you sick or something.
Thực sự mà nói trong gia đình của em không có đông con, chỉ có 2 đứa con thôi, cho nên bố mẹ không có, thực sự mà nói really trong cái lòng của bố mẹ không có muốn con cái mình đi theo cái hướng này. Nhưng mà mình đâu có tránh được, bố mẹ chỉ sinh mình ra thôi, còn cái bản thân của do mình hình thành là khi mình đã có trong người rồi.
I believe that we will come and live together sometimes in the future. So it happens. It's a miracle. Thanks to U.S. government that would approve the same-sex marriage.
Tụi em có đi làm mỗi ngày chung với nhau á, cái xong rồi mỗi ngày đều lên radio á, Việt Nam á, đài radio, thì tụi em có nghe về cái văn phòng bảo lãnh của Asian Law dành cho người low income á.
So I met Trang and her wife Han when they came to Asian Law Alliance because they wanted to remove the conditions on Trang's green card.
Cái thời gian đó nó rất là bất ngờ, tại vì thực sự nó quá bất ngờ, mình cũng không có nghĩ là nó xảy ra một cách bất ngờ tới như vậy, là mẹ của mình bị mất. Tinh thần mình cái thời gian khoảng 1 năm về trước á, giống như nó shut down luôn á. Nếu mà giả sử cái thời gian đó mà mình không về được á, thì chắc là mình không biết làm sao luôn á. Một cái tai nạn với một cái tai nạn rất là bất ngờ. Mình nghĩ là với lại trong cái thời gian đó mình đang nộp cái hồ sơ để vào thẻ xanh 10 năm, cho nên là mình nghĩ, và thời gian cái lúc mà thời điểm đó cái di trú nó rất là khó khăn, nó chặt chẽ nữa. Mình nghĩ không biết làm thế nào để mà mình có thể đi về Việt Nam trong cái thời lúc mà mẹ mất như vậy, để mà mình rất là trong một cái thời gian rất là ngắn như vậy, nó rất là giống như là nó làm cho mình khó không biết là như thế nào.
So the pandemic has really put a strain on ALA clients. Since the first couple of months when everything started shutting down, all of the immigration offices basically shut down with no public access.
Thật sự mà nói cái trường hợp của mình á, mà được qua Mỹ á, nó cũng là một cái kỳ tích rồi. Và một lần nữa mình lại được trở lại Mỹ, giống như là cái sự khó khăn mà trong cái kỳ di trú với lại cái visa của mình như vậy, mà nhờ văn phòng giúp đỡ, nó giống như là lần thứ 2. Tụi em cũng rất là cảm ơn rất là nhiều đến văn phòng cũng như luật sư Asian Law. Tụi em sẽ làm cố gắng hết sức những cái gì mình đã nhận từ văn phòng đã giúp tụi em.
At the end, the bottom line, we are lucky as well. We feel lucky to know about ALA too.
I feel that by doing this direct representation of low income and immigrant populations, I'm able to make a difference amongst a population that historically has lacked access to that.
Once he come to my life, I feel my life is like blooming and it's more worthwhile to live on. That's how love is. Now I know the love. Yeah.
Thank you, Trang and Han, for sharing your story. And congratulations to you. We can't wait for you to own your own business. Now, folks, when you donate to Asian Law Alliance, this is what you make possible. Help ALA help others like Han and Trang, who had nowhere else to go for help. I'm urging all of you here tonight to make a direct donation by clicking the link in the chat box or find it in the text message we sent you. And don't forget, until the end of tonight's program, the Alaska Airlines vouchers are up for grabs. These are for 2 round-trip tickets anywhere Alaska Airlines flies, and there are no blackout dates. Alaska Airlines has about 1,200 daily flights across the U.S. and to Mexico, Canada, and Costa Rica. So check out the chat now to bid. Thank you to everybody who has already donated tonight. ALA could not do this work without you. So now let's take a moment to thank tonight's Platinum, Gold, and Silver sponsors. Thank you very much to Platinum sponsors Covington and Burling, Facebook, Google, HP, Kilpatrick Townsend, Mike Baller and Christine Brigagliano, and Perkins Coie. We also want to thank our Gold sponsors, Akachan, Cooley LLP, Morrison Forster, and Weil Gotchel and Manges. Thanks to our silver sponsors, Alaska Airlines, Benish, Cadence, Dentons, Fish & Richardson, Greenberg Traurig, Goodwin Proctor, Latham Watkins, Minami Tamaki, Shepard Mullen, Scotton, Sidley Austin, Synopsy Inc., TM Financial Forensics, Unibail Rodamco Westfield, and Wilson Saucini, Goodrich, and Rosati Foundation. Once again, I hope you will find the link to donate in the chat or in your text messages and make a gift right now. It's never been more urgent to support ALA's programs to advance justice, dignity, and equality. I want to add a personal note here. When ALA asked me to MC their 44th anniversary celebration, I didn't hesitate. As an immigrant who moved here from Taiwan at the age of 8, not speaking any English, I'm keenly aware that sometimes members of AAPI immigrant communities do not receive the help or services they need. I became a journalist to give a voice to those who may not have one, and I know you share a similar mission and purpose. Now, I am excited to bring you tonight's awards program. Each year, ALA honors 3 distinguished leaders in the legal and business community who inspire us with their dedication to advancing justice, dignity, and equality for all. To introduce our Community Impact Honoree, please welcome in the chat Rick Callender, CEO of Santa Clara Valley Water District, followed by Andy Song, General Counsel and Vice President of Corporate Development with Manifold AI, and then Catharina Min, a partner with Covington and Burling.
I can't think of a better person to talk about how they have impacted the community. The NAACP has always asked for all of its leaders to commit to ensuring the political, the educational, social, and economic equality of all people, and has committed to removing the barriers of racial discrimination to the democratic process. Reverend Moore has not only exemplified these qualities, but many others, as he's had a true impact on the community. I've known Reverend Moore for many years. And in fact, in 2007, when I knew that I'd be resigning from being the local branch president of the NAACP, Reverend Moore was my choice to step up behind me as vice president. He took on that role, and let me tell you this, I could not have chosen a better successor. So officially, I take credit for all of his successes from 2008 till 2021. So all jokes aside, Reverend Moore, he's had many successes under his leadership, from holding the police accountable, from ensuring that local voters understood the implications and the need to vote, from ensuring that the justice system works for everyone and not just those that can afford to defend themselves in the justice system, from standing up for issues which impact all communities of color. Reverend Moore has always spoke truth to power. Congratulations, Reverend Moore. This is definitely well-deserved.
I have the pleasure of introducing Sarita, and had the pleasure of working with her many years ago when we were at Apple together. We both had 2 young kids at the time, about the same ages. So we decided to hang out one weekend at Gilroy Gardens. This was the first time that I really got to know Sarita. For those of you who haven't been, Gilroy Gardens is the Disneyland of the North, at least our version of it in San Jose. So after a morning of rides, games, and too much soda, we sat down for lunch, at least tried to. My 2 boys kept running around instead of sitting down and eating. Meanwhile, Sarita's kids were sitting at the table and happily eating. I was so impressed because I had read every parenting book that I could get my hands on, tried every technique from 3-2-1 timeout to reward systems. And I'm not just talking about stickers, I'm talking about poker chips. But for the life of me, I could not get my kids to sit down and eat on their own, still to this day. And I've got a teenager now. So at the time, I was thinking to myself, Sarita, you got to hook me up with whatever you're giving your kids. So I said to her, your kids are so well behaved. How do you do it? She just laughed and said, no, they're not. Now, this was not false modesty. I know that when I see it. My mother taught me that at an early age because it was a big part of her culture. When I was growing up, we would often eat at an all-you-can-eat buffet on special occasions with family friends. At the end of the meal, when the server brought the check, the adults would make a mad grab for the bill and start to fight over who would pay. My mother would often win these fights because she wouldn't relent. So my parents' friends learned that to win, they would need to use the weakest pawn, which was me. So they would shove the cash in my hands and tell me to keep it. As a 10-year-old, I was tempted to give the cash to the server and say, can I have an extra ice cream to go with that? Little did I know that the soft serve ice cream was free. I also learned that I was supposed to give the money back to my parents' friends, even though I really, really wanted that ice cream. That's false modesty. Sarita, on the other hand, was being completely honest. And after she said, no, they're not, she said, they just like what they're eating. Her honesty is one of her special qualities that I've always appreciated and admired. In meetings, she would say what needed to be said and what many in the room were thinking but were reluctant to say because it wasn't the message people wanted to hear. But that never stopped Sarita. Yet she never offended with her message because of one of her other special qualities, which is empathy. She's extremely caring and compassionate. During the rise of Asian hate incidents earlier this year, I had posted on social media my own experience, which was hard for me to write and harder for me to share. Sarita was one of the first to reach out and say how sad and angry it made her feel to hear what had happened to me. Her empathy and honesty combined make her extremely effective as a leader and agent for change. She speaks truth to power on behalf of women and minorities, like when she co-founded the Heels of Justice podcast to share the stories of trailblazing women in the law and the hardships they faced in their careers. She's been recognized for her contributions to the community by many organizations, including as a diversity inclusion leader by Chambers, a woman of influence by the Silicon Valley Business Journal, a woman leader in tech law by the Recorder, and the Corporate Counsel Award by the South Asian Bar Association. Despite all these amazing accolades, Sarita is extremely modest. In fact, she was surprised when she received this award from ALA, but it was no surprise to me. Sarita, congratulations on this well-deserved award, and thank you for all that you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catharina Min. I'm a partner in the Palo Alto office of Covington and Burling, and I'm honored to introduce Deanna Kwong, who is this year's Business Impact Honoree. But first, as someone who immigrated to the US from Korea at the age of 12, I personally want to send my deep gratitude to ALA for all your trailblazing work for Asian Americans to have equal access to our justice system. Now on to our honoree. Deanna is Senior IP Litigation Counsel at Hewlett Packard Enterprise Company. In that role, she helps to manage some of the company's toughest litigation matters globally. I have been working with Deanna on various diversity programs over the years, and what really impressed me about her is how she's using her role and her platform at HPE to make a substantive impact on diversity and inclusion and to help those in need. She does this both internally at HPE and also externally in her community. First, internally, she's an active leader at HPE. She serves on its Executive Inclusion and Diversity Council with HPE's CEO and other C-suite executives and a board member. So you can see that she's at the highest level addressing these issues at HPE. Deanna also has many other roles, one of which is to lead its Global Asian Network employee group, where she's fostering that community, and she's also chaired Global Pro Bono program. So one great example of how she uses her platform, last year she contacted us to have us work on a pro bono basis for a program that HPE created with YWCA of Silicon Valley. It's for a program which helps women and girls learn about careers in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. These are areas where women and diverse women are not very well represented. So we were honored to work with her and her team. So she connects programs like these, which need free legal services, with law firms that can provide these services. This is just one example of how she is a fearless advocate for those who do not have the resources, and she brings the resources to them from her platform. Second, externally, she gives her time and energy to many nonprofit organizations. I will just name a few. She serves as co-president of the Asian Pacific American Bar Association, and she's on the board of the Asian Pacific Islander Legal Outreach. And she's been widely recognized for her accomplishments. Again, just to name a few. The PAVA named her recently as one of their best lawyers under 40, and California Minority Corporate Counsel program recognized her for her diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So when you meet her, you know right away that she has the strong, formidable energy of a long distance runner. In fact, in her spare time, she enjoys training for and running road marathons and mountain ultramarathons. Last but not least, Deanna is a dedicated single mom of 2 boys. And what an incredible role model she is to her boys and to everyone at HPE and all the organizations where she leads. So it is my honor to introduce you to Deanna Kwong, the Business Impact Honoree. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, Andy, and Catharina. Let me again just ask that if you haven't already done so, please make a gift to ALA tonight. Supporters like you can strengthen justice, dignity, and equality in the community. Donations to the organization are tax-deductible contributions, supporting an organization that is ethnically diverse and led by a person of color. And that ALA is based right in San Jose, doing local work in Silicon Valley. You can click on the link in the chat or in your text messages to donate now. In a moment, we'll hear from our 3 honorees: Community Impact Honoree Reverend Jethroe Moore II, Sarita Venkat, our Legal Impact Honoree, and Deanna Kwong, our Business Impact Honoree. We're doing something a little different this year. Tonight, we'll have a fireside chat with our honorees about how to support one another and our communities. A year into the pandemic, more than 1,200 anti-AAPI hate incidents have been reported in California. We report on many of them. More than half took place in the Bay Area. 1 year after the murder of George Floyd, officers across the country had killed at least 229 Black people. Black people are 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. On March 26th, a mass shooting in Atlanta left 8 people dead, including 6 Asian American women. 2 months later, a mass shooting hit home, leaving 10 more dead from the VTA rail yard shooting in San Jose. As violence persists and everyone here tonight wants to do more to stop the hate, we ask you, what has the last year underscored or driven home for you? And what do you see as a priority call to action to support one another in our communities?
First, give an honor and praise to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. who's the head of my life, because without him, I could do nothing. I would like to thank Rick Callender, president of the California-Hawaii NAACP State Conference, for the introduction, for his kind and gentle words of presentation. I ask that you would join me because he was introducing me. I was asking God to forgive him for being so extravagant and hyperbolic in his usage of language. And I asked God to forgive me because I like the way he lied about me. I appreciate him and this high honor that Asian Law Alliance in recognizing me. Let me express my appreciation for the legendary Asian Law Alliance as a drum major for this movement and all that you continue to do for the length and breadth of this county and state. Our county is a better place because of your work. A heartfelt thank you to the Asian Law Alliance Banquet Committee and all members for all your work to make this event a success. Congratulations to all special awardees for dedicating their lives to improving the educational, social, economic outcomes for others in this community. We are forever grateful for their drive and tenacity, but realize with all that's been accomplished, there is much more work to be done. In the words of Sly Stone, thank you for letting me be myself as the servant leader that lead with love, humility, and empathy, with justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, or better still, being a Jedi for short. And I want to make sure that you understand inclusion starts with I. And to the San Jose, Silicon Valley NAACP Executive Committee, thank you for your support. To Bob Nunez, Otto Lee, Richard Conda, Judge Ladores Cadell, Victor Garza or Walter Wilson, Sparky Harlan, Ro Khanna, Evan Lowe, Monica Tong, Alex Mubata, Akemi Flim, Raj Scott Myers-Lipton, and Aaron James. Thank you for your continued support. My work is committed to centering, lifting up, and working with those who have too long been underrepresented in our government and politics, specifically Asian Americans, Black, and Latino folk. Equity is the basic foundation element for government and community. It is my position that every policy this county creates and reinforces should be required to have equitable impact on all of its citizens. Despite notable advances, it goes without saying that we continue to require special emphasis on African American and other groups who have shouldered the plight of the desperate living experiences. The generational expressions after years of individual, institutional, and structural racism has institutionalized discrimination, and we are seeing the sad results of decentralized populations daily. I want to emphasize to the extent to which this county and city and our nation have disconnected from the reality of what they should represent, the personification of justice, liberty, and equality for all citizens. We are entitled dutifully to expect and demand economic opportunity, employment opportunities, education equality, fair housing, and a solution to infant mortality rates, and narrowing the divide between the disparities of life expectancy. We also are expected an end to police misconduct. We will not be satisfied until the cities, the county of Santa Clara, are a welcoming place for all of its citizens, and based on equitable policies and practices that are living and experiencing daily, not just philosophical rhetoric. By creating a more equitable community, by enhancing current staff hiring and retention policies and practices, knowing that one size does not fit all, but to actively and formally support underrepresented African-American staff in their career progressions, strengthen African-American affinity groups, employees with specialized leaders and development and internal candidates, as well as non-traditional candidates, establish metrics on specific equity and inclusion goals to empower our community, become stronger, We, the people, must elect stronger leaders and legislators who reflect support for diversity and inclusion, and with a renewed spirit of activism to fight the ills of our community. Systemic racism and learned racism and inherent racism still exist in this county, and I am determined to work with all people who believe in justice to fight for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and become a Jedi with me. Before I want us all to know that we serve God, we must first come to learn what we are to serve God. And sometimes it's not a place, but a process. And I'm in that process. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
It is such an honor to receive this award from the Asian Law Alliance. I recall many years ago when I first arrived in Silicon Valley and first attended the ALA Gala. I watched Emily Ward, who was the head of IP at eBay at the time, who I greatly admired, stand up here and receive an award from ALA, and it is absolutely humbling to be here doing the same. To me, the best awards are those that recognize service to a community. And service comes in many forms, big and small. For example, I want to share something about Andy. Andy has a big smile and a bigger heart and is a quiet force in our Silicon Valley legal community. Recently, in the wake of the Stop Asian Hate movement, he bravely shared a story about his own experiences growing up as an Asian American in the US, in which he overcame racism and biases, which have become too commonplace in recent times. He is a shining example of the courage that so many in this community have shown, simply by sharing their own deeply personal stories to awaken others and to educate, which I can tell you is no small feat. When I created the Heels of Justice podcast with my friend Catherine Manerick, we set out to ask women lawyers to share the stories of their career, their life, their personal experiences. Through that journey, I've realized how tough it is to share your vulnerabilities with the entire world. Yet that's exactly what the leaders in our community, like Andy, have done. There have been countless stories shared, from Malin Yen to Jan Kang to Susan Doe to Maria Huber, telling their tales of not just overcoming, but rising. As for me, I'm an immigrant from a small village in South India. I became an American citizen when I was in college. And one of the moments I recall vividly in my life is when my father, almost 20 years ago now, in the wake of 9/11, immediately placing American flags on our cars to showcase our patriotism, such that we as brown-skinned people wouldn't be the target of hate in our small community. It was clear that whether citizen or not, born here or not, others will always use the color of my skin and ethnicity to define me. However, there is a common theme of these tales, and it's that of redefining the American dream, as Andy says, to not only find your voice, but to use it to ensure that these stories are not lost and provide a beacon of hope and resilience that must be preserved. And that is the great responsibility for all of us. To me, this community that the ALA created serves as a protector of these stories and experiences. This alliance of Asian American leaders and lawyers protecting the rights of the most targeted and the most vulnerable is beyond necessary to provide the equal, dignified, and just world that we and our children deserve. ALA, thank you for all that you do, and thank you so much for this award.
Good evening. I'd first like to thank the ALA Board of Directors and staff for tonight's recognition. I am truly humbled by this honor of being this year's Business Impact Honoree. For me, as with so many others, this last year and a half or so has been a significantly transformative period of self-reflection. The global pandemic, climate change, and the worsening California wildfires, and the racial injustices that have come to light, including the heartbreaking uptick in anti-AAPI hate nationally, really catalyzed me to drill down on what truly matters to me in life generally. During this time, I've been forced to ask myself, what are my core values and what do I actually truly need? It drove home for me that in addition to food, shelter, and clean water, what really matters to me are fresh air, meaningful connections with family, friends, and colleagues, doing challenging work that allows me to give back to the communities that I'm a part of, and for those who know me and my love for running a pair of running shoes. As with many others, I've felt helpless at times, watching various world and current events unfold. And I've asked myself many times, what can I do and how can I help? And in answering that question for myself, I see the priority call to action as involving three components: courage, connection, and consistency. Let me explain what I mean. First, courage over comfort. This is something that my company, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, has adopted as part of our company call to action in driving forward diversity, equity, and inclusion and social justice. And it's something that I've tried to put into practice daily, both in my professional work and in my personal life. And I will admit that this first part of the three components I mentioned, for me personally, has been the most challenging to put into practice. I, like many other Asian Americans, grew up in a household where my cultural heritage had encouraged me not to make waves, to put my head down and work hard, but not complain, to not talk publicly about hardships or trauma or grievances. But now is the time, in my view, for those of us who did grow up with those principles instilled in us to grow, to break through, and to push forward, to choose courage over comfort. Now is the time to be brave. And now is the time to speak up against injustices, whether they be on a grander scale or whether they be small, everyday microaggressions or unconscious biases, whether they come in the form, for example, of an unintentional joke or comment made on a work call, for example. The second part of the call to action, in my view, is connection. Meaningful, authentic connection is a cornerstone of driving forward DEI and racial and social justice, because the more points of connection we can find, and they can be as simple as having a common favorite sports team, a common favorite flavor of ice cream, or a common hometown, especially with someone who doesn't seem to have much in common with us on the surface. The more we do that, the more we are reminded that we are all human at our core. It's been reassuring and inspiring to me to see that I can make and maintain meaningful connection, even through video conferences and telephone calls during the current pandemic, as long as I and the other people involved put in the effort to connect meaningfully and authentically. So in my view, a priority call to action is to get to know your clients, your colleagues, and your neighbors better as people. A priority call to action involves being comfortable sharing our vulnerabilities and what makes us human. The coworkers who have taken the time over the course of the last year and a half to actually ask, how are you? And who have created a safe space for me to actually respond truthfully with how I'm feeling at that minute, even if it really has been a challenging day, have made a meaningful connection with me in a very simple way with very little effort. In my view, racism thrives on dehumanizing and depersonalizing individuals. Let's combat that with true, authentic, meaningful connection as individuals. Third, consistency. In my view, a priority call to action is to practice this courage over comfort and to maintain and cultivate these meaningful relationships and connections on a daily basis and in all of our social circles, whether that be in the workplace, at the grocery store for me, with my running friends and communities, or even when we are home alone and no one is watching. I've seen many companies and individuals take a very reactive approach to racial and social justice issues. But I see the priority call to action as requiring consistent, proactive steps and action from each of us on a daily basis, because consistency builds habits. By sharing what I see as this threefold call of action that I've pledged myself to follow, with courage over comfort, meaningful connections, and consistency, I hope that it inspires each of you to continue supporting one another in our communities on a daily basis. I hope that the next time that you and I meet in person, we can share ways in which we've put this into practice. Until then, I hope you stay safe and well, and I thank you again for taking your time and supporting ALA this evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Konda, Executive Director of Asian Law Alliance and one of the founders. I'd like to thank our platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and copper sponsors, as well as everyone who's contributed to ALA. With your help, we are able to help others. And I'd like to draw your attention to our Alaska Airlines travel vouchers. That's part of our silent auction this evening. It's still open for the next few minutes. Check the live chat and keep those bids coming in. To Trang and Han, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this evening. Thank you so much for being brave and being willing to share your story and talk about how our services impacted your lives. I'd like to go off script for just a moment to thank our board president, Victoria Smith. Victoria, you really stepped up this year. Thank you so much. ALA appreciates your effort, the board, staff. We all sincerely appreciate what you've done for Asian Law Alliance. To our co-chairs, Rick Callender, Andy Song, and Catharina Min, you have helped make this event a great success. To our three honorees, Sarita, Venkat, Deanna, Kwong, and Reverend Moore, congratulations and thank you. Sarita and Deanna, the community is stronger because of you. Reverend Moore, you and I have been to marches together, to meetings together, many more meetings than I can even think about. We've advocated for police accountability, better jail conditions, no tasers in the jail, voting rights. We've argued against racism in our community. You will be sorely missed. Earlier this year, I was watching a news feed and I was shocked to learn about what happened in Atlanta, Georgia, when 6 Asian American women were killed by unneeded gunfire. And the phone rang and it was Reverend Moore. And he said to me, Rich, what can I do? What can we do? What should we do? That's Jeff Moore, a true ally. To fight against anti-AAPI hate, I think one of the important things we can do is to educate ourselves. If you go to the ALA website, you'll find some excellent resources put together by the Asian American Foundation. Please check it out. It's worth your time. And later in November, Asian Law Alliance and our partner groups from the API Justice Coalition will be sponsoring some panel discussions to consider AAPI hate issues. So thank you again for joining us in celebrating 44 years of working for justice, dignity, and equality. Next year, we'll be celebrating ALA's 45th anniversary. I hope we can do it in person. Please stay safe, take care. Good evening.